back when I was a much younger man, I guess from about the time, I don't know when I started writing poems. But I know, I know that I wrote poems up until about my mid-20s, maybe almost 30. I was pretty regular about it. I'd fall in and out of love or something like that. And Oscar Wilde said the worst poems written are the ones that men write when they're in love. Or I don't know if he said men, but the worst poems are love poems, he said. And they are kind of stupid and sappy. But, and I'd say one of the more crappy poems I wrote is trying to woo some girl. Not that that works on every woman, but it works on some. And so a long time ago, I think I talked about at one point that almost all my writing from the early days were on floppy disks, and they've been lost. But this poem was simple enough that I could commit it to memory, more or less. It may not be exactly the way I wrote it, but this is how I remember it. And this is a little poem I call Vegetable Love. I spent the night in frozen foods. Do over, okay? This is a little poem I call Vegetable Love. I spent the night in frozen foods, crying with the lima beans. She was in fresh produce, laughing at the baby peas. I was 6 items only. She was paying by check. I said, your lettuce looks wilted. She said, your tomatoes a wreck. Abuse your vegetables, the cashier then screamed. So we went back to her place and tortured some greens. That was a terrible reading, considering that was my own poem. Believe me, it went a lot better during rehearsal. All right. Oh, here's something I forgot to do at the beginning. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. And look, I even have the official glass. See? I'm not looking at a mirror image of myself, so it's a little confusing. Ah, nice pour. Actually, when it's served in the pubs, and this is a full pint glass, this is only a 12-ounce bottle. Not even quite 12 ounce. This is pressurized stout. All right, we're not ready yet. Time to don the fez. Should I say that poem again? I got a haircut, see? Oh, what happened here? Oh, I'm sorry, I need to reset my screensaver. Oh, boy, we're off to a good start here, huh? Yeah. Oh well, Fez Night, such as it is, right? Yeah, my screensaver kicked on. So let's see, let me see if I can turn it off. La 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 la. All right, let's see how it goes from now on. Okay, we're 5 minutes into the show and it's already crap. All right, I've poured my drink. Greetings, fellow citizens. This is Citizen Kong, and welcome to another Fez Night. Tonight's Fez Night shall be called Choose Your Fez. Cheers. That was good. I might have to break out another bottle. Look, already cut in about half of that. All right, so what do we have on the agenda tonight? Well, first off, tonight we're going to have another special call-in guest, or I'll call that person. We're going to have Angie. Angie. I would say something else. Men are so... Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I'll let it go at that. It's nothing bad, Angie. It's just that a lot of men compliment you on and I thought we'll just, keep Fez, not let our eyes wander downward. Look me in the eyes. Oh, gosh. It's been a strange afternoon. I got busy. Normally I've been taping Fez Night earlier in the day, but now I'm taping it kind of late, so it'll post probably pretty late. And, I'm looking at myself, and I actually like it when my hair's a bit longer, but it becomes very unruly. So I figure if I'm going to pay good money to get a haircut, cut it short. Um, so, yeah, so I'll give Angie a call later, and we'll have a chat. And I'm going to cover a little bit of drama. Let me talk about Kid Blood. Kid Blood had a blog TV, and it's funny, he made some announcement for it, and he mentioned that I was going to be there along with other guests. And it's funny, I knew nothing about it. I mean, as far as being told I was going to be I was going to attend the show, and so. The last time I was on Kid Blood's blog TV, I had a terrible experience. You've heard me talk about it before. I said, man, I'm not going to go back to that. I thought Kid Blood, man, dude's not sticking up for himself or whatever. He's letting Timmy tell him what to do. And so he had another blog TV, and I didn't go, and but I heard and saw some of the aftermath later, and boy, was Timmy upset. Something really bad happened. He was calling Kid Blood stupid and stuff like that. And then he claims he got attacked by 30 trolls. Timmy, there's very few people in your court, and you've alienated yourself from so many people by blocking them willy-nilly. Like you're the badass of YouTube, like you're the police officer of YouTube, or the hall monitor. And when I called you a snitch, later I realized that in your world of criminality, yes, that is probably one of the worst things you could say to somebody. I mean, they'll kill you or something. And I don't think in that context, but what I was talking about was basically a tattletale, and essentially, in schoolyard talk, a snitch. The guy that goes running to YouTube for every little thing, and you threatened to approach my ex-girlfriend and basically rat me out to her, or be a rat. Essentially, in your mind, you had things to tell her about me, which is a violation of the turn in your man card. Men don't do that to each other. So you say I crossed the line. All right, I crossed the line. I don't think like you do, but that's fine. You can say that if you want. So, and Kid Blood, well, good on you, as the Aussies say, for sticking up for yourself and saying, look, I'm not your puppet, and Tim thinks like he's like the hall monitor of YouTube, like he's the only one who has a clue, and so kind of maybe I'm now regretting that I wasn't there, but I mostly hate that blog TV stickum stuff. I really don't like it. So I'll give a shout out to Barfly. Barfly on one of his little spoof channels is featuring some clips of the blog TV night. Excuse me. Go over to Timmy Tater Tots. That's right there. Hydroponic. Give him a shout out too. Hydroponic was there, and saw the events unfold. And not that any of you really care, but anyway. And let's see. So I'll hold off going to the paper right away. I didn't read the paper today. I didn't have time. I was out in my garage emptying a toolbox so I could move it. I mean, there was no way I was going to lift that thing by myself, full of tools, and put it in my car. My Honda Element, which I highly recommend for somebody that doesn't have a bunch of kids. It's only a 4-passenger vehicle. It only has 4 seats in it. But man, you put the seats up or take the seats out, you can put a lot of stuff in there, And essentially, it's the Honda version of a SUV, but it's not really much of an SUV. It's not. Mine isn't four-wheel drive or anything like that. So I'm doing a little commercial for Honda Element. But yeah, so I loaded that up. I was busy. I didn't have time to read the newspaper. I'm taking the toolbox to work. Oh, by the way, Pops is betting that my job won't last a month, that I'll be fired within a month. And so I've been there for about 3 weeks. So yeah, I have one more week to go. How about we start a pool? Okay, start a pool. Pops is in. He said 4 weeks, and so he has 1 week to go. And then any of you other folks that are waiting or hoping or betting that I'll be fired, yeah, start a pool, you know, and the winner, I'll send you a box filled with all the dog shit I've collected in the yard. Buster's gone. I'll send you a bunch of. Otherwise, I'd send you cat poop. We have a problem in our, dog owners, man. What's up with dog owners? Yeah, they walk their dogs around. They don't always pick up their poop, but they're getting better about it. I'll send you something really nasty for the winner. It pops, and it could be you. All right, so let's see. I'm going to talk a little bit about movies. I got killing time on Netflix, watching the streaming movies, and I started watching Hammer production films from the Hammer Studios, and they were famous for their monster and vampire movies. And I mean, a list is many, many movies, but I was mainly interested in the later ones. But I'll go back and watch the earlier ones if they're available. And these are the ones I quickly jotted down, like several of the ones I watched. I watched The Vampire Lovers, Countess Dracula, Twins of Evil, and Vampire Circus. And one thing about those movies, they're cheesy, but they're sexy. They're really, really sexy. I mean, there's something about that tease that's going on. And those later versions, you actually see nipple, and just a flash of a female pubic hair. See, growing up as a kid, I saw these movies on television, but they cut out all the good parts. So actually, I started watching them kind of for nostalgia's sake, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that. So I started watching more of them. Somebody in the review complained, it's like a really young person. Isn't it funny with young people? They'll say something like, "Oh yeah, it was that movie Ghostbusters. That was an old movie." To me, old movies are like Humphrey Bogart, and Barbara Stanwyck. Oh, which by the way, I watched a great movie that I had saved. I ripped a copy of it. I never got around to watching it. Last Fez Night, I can't stream movies while I'm uploading, so I have to watch something on DVD or something I saved from previously. And I watched The Lady Eve with a young Henry Fonda and Barbara Stanwyck. Wow, and that movie was sexy too. They didn't show any nipple or anything, but that Barbara Stanwyck, man, she's smoking. And she's not a classic beauty, but boy, man, the way they photographed it and her style, and it kind of reminds me of my friend Shay, because Shay has that sort of smoldering, teasy, kind of smart-ass, kind of, I don't know what the word is, kind of wise ass or something. Kind of cynical or something, sarcastic. I don't know. It's sort of like that fast-talking dame from the big city, and, woman of the world. And, yeah, the Lady Eve. Barbara Stanwyck plays basically a card shark or a con artist who travels with her father and another man who basically at this point in the movie, they're on board a cruise liner, and they're going to fleece rich people in card games. And Henry Fonda is the heir to a brewing fortune, a brewery, but he's not interested in beer, really. He was grown up, forced to learn about it, but he's forgot the scientific name for it, but it's somebody that's interested in snakes. So it starts out with him, he's traveled up the Amazon and he's bringing back a snake and he's aboard this cruise liner. But everybody knows the guy's stinking rich, so all these women are trying to hit on him and stuff. And Barbara Stanwyck meets him simply by, as he's walking past, she trips him. And then eventually he's falling for her, which is sort of the plan, but she falls for him. And so she starts wanting to end the con, but her father isn't exactly happy about this, won't let her. But that's the beginning of the movie. And the sexiness is about it. They photographed these really, really, Barbara Stanwyck had great legs. So there's a lot of what they could do, what they get away with back then was innuendo. There's something about where he was taking her back to his cabin, and he said, and he named his snake Emma or something like that. And he said, yeah, come in, I'll show you Emma. And she says, ooh, I've never heard it called that. And he's like, what? Oh, no, Emma's my snake. Oh, and she's like, again. I love old movies. Yeah, and those are truly the old movies, okay? Now, maybe my dad, who was like born in 1907, would have said, oh, no, that's not an old movie. I think he would have recognized that. It's funny, yeah, like, I guess to a younger person, a movie from the 60s was a really old movie. And even the 60s, probably what I would call an old movie is anything from the 50s and before. Anyway, The Lady Eve. I really enjoyed that. Here we go with this mirror thing. It's confusing to me. Yeah. So, yeah, and the vampire movies. Enjoyed that. There's a really, in Vampire Circus, there's this really cool bit where this woman comes out and she does a performance. There's a circus, okay? And, and this takes place, I don't know, it looks like it's like the early 1800s or something like that. Maybe 1850, something like that, I don't know. And there's a performance, and this woman with a shaved head, covered completely in body makeup, so she looks like a snake, reptile, speaking of snakes again, and she does this dance with this man, and she's completely, as far as I can see, I was trying to see, does she have a G-string on or anything? I couldn't see. It looked like she was completely naked, covered in body makeup, and doing a pretty erotic performance. Once again, they must have cut that part out when I watched it as a kid. So, hey, look, am I sorry? Do I talk too much about the certain parts of the movie? Yes, it was scary. It's not scary to me anymore, but when I was a kid, man, that stuff used to really scare me. I remember watching Christopher Lee Taste the Blood of Dracula, I think it was called, at the Palm Theater in Imperial Beach. And that kind of freaked me out. But of course, I was, 8 years old or something like that. And interesting story, wonderful sets, wonderful costumes. That's one thing about British film productions is I understand that they have this vast treasure trove of period costumes, especially, English, as pertaining to Britain. And I guess apparently there's a deal where they work it out, where studios share the stuff and they shared it with the theater people and blah, blah, blah. At least that's what I understand. So the great thing, anything, Doctor Who, even a low-budget BBC production, even in Doctor Who, if they're doing a period piece, the costumes are actually very, very well done because they didn't make them for the production. They're available from somewhere else. So, there, that's my movie review. Should I go grab another Guinness? I'm kind of thinking I will. Then, of course, I'll fall asleep and I'll post this. How long are we going here? Yeah, Angie's probably waiting for me to call her. Let's go through the paper real quick. Oh, a real quick thing. Al Brookman. Al Brookman was talking about MC wearing parachute pants, and I had to say, okay, dude, where were you, man? I'm sure you remember the leisure suits, but you probably... Al Brookman being slightly out of touch with pop culture. Not that I cared, but I knew MC Hammer. I guess I looked it up, they call them hammer pants. And my God, were those things absolutely stupid. Big old balloon looking things, okay? But Al Brookman was calling them parachute pants. And really, parachute pants were what breakdancers wore. And parachute pants were actually very tight-fitting, and they're made of nylon. And they had many pockets, almost sort of styled after a military-style thing, hence parachute. It looked like somebody would wear them jumping out of a plane. And I'm embarrassed to mention that I own 2 pair. Which the gray pair, or did I own 3? I think I owned a pair of navy blue, a pair of gray, and a pair of white ones. Ooh. I had to wear white underwear, or else you could see stuff. And that wasn't my favorite pair. But at the time, I was sort of like, yeah, you know, and there for about 6 months, yeah, I'd wear them to the clubs or something. That was pretty cool. Yeah, which reminds me of the infamous incident. I was wearing the navy blue ones, and I was seeing this woman who had a young child, who had a girl who was she's probably about 6 or 7. Okay, so I went over to her house, and she was a wine drinker, so I was drinking wine with her. The little girl was out there in the living room, and and I was trying to be charming and entertain, her daughter and stuff. And what was I? I was in my early 20s. Must have been about 25. I just started working at the shop that I was with for over 25 years, almost 25 years. Excuse me. And so I was trying to entertain her, and I was wearing those navy blue parachute pants. And she says, "Oh, do you know how to break dance?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." So she had this really heavy-duty coffee table. I mean, it was strong enough. It was obviously strong enough to hold my weight. And so I took my wine glass and I set it on the floor, and I sat up on the table, and I said, "Okay, take my hand and start spinning me around." And these parachute pants are nylon, and so that's why the breakdancers wear them, so they could spin. They're really slick, and so she grabbed my arm and she started spinning me around. I picked up a pretty good clip. And if you remember, there's that trick ice skaters use. And it kind of applies to anything. You could make a wheel with weights on it, get it spinning, and if you could somehow pull the weights toward the center, the object will start spinning faster. It's a very, very neat effect, and ice skaters use it. They have their arms out, they start to spin, they pull their arms in tight, and they spin faster and faster and faster. So she started me spinning, and I pulled my arms in, and I started spinning pretty fast, and I spun off the coffee table and landed on my wine glass. It went right in my butt and went in deep, and glass broke inside of it. So that night of romance was cut short because she had to rush me to the emergency room. And oh man, was I bleeding. I mean, I soaked a towel. She stuck a bath towel on my butt, and it was soaked in blood. And so she took me to the emergency room, and so I had to lay on my stomach while these nurses were coming by looking at my ass with this big old cut in it. And they were kind of laughing. Oh, so they had to I don't know whether glass shows up in x-rays. I think it does. So they had to make sure all the glass was out. And then it took 3 layers of stitches. They had to stitch down deep, then stitch like another layer, and then stitch up the skin on the outside. I still have that scar to this day. And boy, were they razzing me at work about that, because I had to miss the next day. And but I'll say, after the visit to the emergency room later on that night, there's just no keeping me down. All right. It's getting time. Let's go through the paper real quick. Yeah, this tsunami thing. What a terrible thing. Scary. And the main thing for me, I mean, it's the tragic loss in life, but it's the nuclear power plant issue. I mean, I've always been against nuclear power plants because you never know what's going to happen. And radiation sticks around for thousands of years. I mean, look at Chernobyl. Have you ever seen pictures of the children that were exposed to the Chernobyl radiation? I mean, these poor kids are like, they're missing arms and just weird stuff, man. Weird mutations. That's aside from deaths from leukemia. It says, headlines say, a race against time. Japan rushes to save quake victims and stave off nuclear disaster. Fire and flooding slow rescue effort. Anxiety grows as crisis builds. Here's two men putting on radiation suits. Radiation fears. Officials wear protective gear near the Fukushima nuclear complex as people are evacuated. This is an interesting headline. Polite, even in a disaster. Japan's impeccable manners remain intact despite fear. That's nice to know. In America, it's every man for himself. Japan has one of the Asian, I think if I get this wrong, but get this mistaken, like in America, we would say the squeaky oil gets the grease. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, meaning that if you speak up, you'll get some attention. In Asia or Japan, I understand it's the nail that sticks up gets hammered down, and so. And I've talked about it before. The ant colony is a model for society, is one model for a society, and or bees. And Japan's a little more like that. And sometimes there's an interesting idea that it's not so much a strength for the individual, but the feeling part of the group and contributing to the group, instead of this idea of I'm the individual and forget everybody else. So that's one of the things in our society as at odds a little bit more. Whereas Japan, pretty much as part of their culture, it's not so much about the individual. Let's see. Health officials, lots of photographs. Oh man. See, I haven't been looking at the images. I've been busy. And but I did study up on the New York Times article on the nuclear disaster or the power plants. Apparently, out of sort of one of the reactors was flooded with seawater as sort of an emergency effort to keep it from melting down. Apparently, another reactor, they released radiation into the atmosphere that was twice the legal levels. But they're hoping that that just the short term will not be such a problem. I don't know. What do you bet there's going to be like, even if there was a short release of what, leukemia and things like that pop up and birth defects. And then meanwhile, we have all that stuff in Libya, all that stuff that happened in Egypt, sparked stuff across the Middle East, and Gaddafi's being a hard ass. He's not going to back down. I heard in Saudi Arabia there was some attempts at it, but they're just really quiet. They don't dare. And Democrats return to Wisconsin. Yeah, busting the unions. That's a terrible thing. Look at what, in history, look what we had before unions. And even a thing like in the Middle Ages, a thing is a guild, which is essentially a type of union, or the beginnings of that. Guilds were there to protect the worker, the people, the craftsmen, the men that tan the leather and weaved the cloth and hammered the gold into jewelry, and whatever crafts were needed. They organized to protect themselves. And to say, if a king went in and said, you can't form a guild, that's the same thing as saying you can't form a union, because you're trying to keep power concentrated in a small group. And and the people that are against unions have all these stories. Oh yeah, these guys were asleep on the job and we can't fire them and blah blah blah. Well, I always say in any human system or model, there's always going to be people taking advantage of the system. But it's better the little guy taking advantage of the system than the rich and powerful, because when the rich and powerful take advantage of the system, it impacts us all much more. Political cartoons. There's a picture of Donald Trump. It says Trump for president 2012. Sarah Palin's going, don't make me laugh. You know what? I'd rather vote for Trump. And I hate Donald Trump. I can't stand him. It's almost like I love watching that show, The Apprentice. My favorite one is when they have regular people, but I'm watching Celebrity Apprentice. And man, do they have a group there. David Cassidy was the first one to get the boot, which is really humiliating to be the first one to get the boot. Richard Hatch, everybody hated him, but I think, and it's reality TV, they want to keep the program interesting. And so they weren't going to kick out Richard Hatch right away because Jose, what's his name? Kosenko, the baseball player that got in trouble for steroids, hated Richard Hatch. And Richard Hatch was really a bully, a really big guy, and he basically shoved David Cassidy out of the way. Of course, David Cassidy needed to stand up verbally and really like rip him a new one in the boardroom, but he didn't do that. And I was very disappointed in that. But not majorly disappointed, but I was like, oh, come on. What a trippy character, that guy. I mean, he was like this big teenage heartthrob, and he sort of had it all, and he really pissed it away. And now he's kind of, what can I say, it's kind of pathetic. And Gary Busey is on the show. Oh, what a nut job. That guy's not right. He had brain damage from a motorcycle accident. Apparently it's still there. I'm gonna step out. Well, let's finish the paper here real quick. I have a thing I call dissecting the newspaper. Okay? Here's a calendar section. Keep that. Keep the funny papers. Keep the front page. Keep the image. Like the image section. Arts and books, I hold on to that. Business, I hold on to that. California, I hold on to that. And then we start going through the ads. Toss the ads. Toss all the ads. Toss all the coupons. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be scripting and saving, but I just hate coupons. Just really do. I don't like dealing with them. Sometimes I save the travel section. I'm tossing that. More ads. The coupons. The coupons. The coupons. Sports section. Toss that too. Yeah, I'm losing my macho creed without being really a sports fan. But I've said it before. What interests me about sports is the drama. Yes, of course. Yeah. Citizen Kong's always interested in drama. But to me, it's more interesting where it says something about, I mean, you watch a football game, to me, they kind of look all the same. Baseball, whatever. Maybe there might be a certain play or something. Or maybe, I never really got interested in it. It's not like watching a play or a movie where it's a little more dramatic, the differences. But when you have somebody like, what was it, Zola Budd tripping somebody while they're racing, or Jose Canseco with the steroid thing, or Mike Tyson biting a man's ear, that's interesting. Then I pay attention. Then I know who these people are. Scandal Pete Rose for gambling, Yeah, that to me is interesting. And to me, it says kind of like the competitive nature. I mean, Americans really admire competitors. But sometimes I say competition does bring out the best in people, but it also brings out the worst. And it's really difficult being around somebody that is too competitive, at least for the rest of us. Or being around two people that are really competitive and witnessing that. All right, I'm going to go grab another Guinness, and we're going to move along now. Yeah, maybe I should have something to eat with this. Should I go pop some popcorn? While you wait for me while I go pop popcorn. You can hear it popping in the microwave in the kitchen. All right, let me swig the rest of this. I haven't had Guinness in so long. All right, let's call Angie. Hold on. Dun 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 dun. I got this other phone to start working. Actually, they fixed it. There was my landline wasn't working. So let me see. Hopefully you can't hear that. Oh, let me put you on speaker and say that again, okay?
Hello?
Hey, Angie, it's me.
Hey.
It's Citizen Kong. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just frosted my cake.
Oh, you frosted your cake. Ooh. Sounds like there's an innuendo there somewhere. No, literally. Yeah, she did. She was baking a cake when I called her earlier. Sorry, I'm working on my second Guinness right now. It's been a while since I drank and did a Fez, but yeah, I called you earlier and you agreed to do a Fez night. So how you doing?
I'm doing good. I must warn you, I'm naked. I'm just kidding. I'm not naked, but I've had a drink too.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you're at least wearing your bathrobe. When I mentioned you're going to be a guest, I started like kind of being silly because Angie, we do all the men admire your breasts, okay? And I kind of hinted around that in the beginning, but I didn't want to be all sexist like that. But now that I've had a couple drinks in me, I was more ready to say that. But we know that's not everything about you. You're a wonderful cook, and you bring us interesting videos about paranormal and other subjects. And we were talking earlier about Fringe, right?
Yes, that's right. That's a show that we do have in common.
Yeah, that's one thing when we talk about Fringe. So so you're all caught up, right?
I am caught up, yes. And I want to point out to everybody that Citizen Kong is a Peter and Olivia supporter, and I am a Peter and faux Olivia supporter.
Oh, really? Okay, so if any of you haven't been watched the show, there's two alternative universes. Peter is actually from the other universe, and there's two Olivias, and there's our Olivia, and then there's the other Olivia. And could you explain a little more about the differences between the two, Angie?
Well, our Olivia over here, she's kind of broken because she was experimented on, and we learned that she also went through some other things in her life. She was abused by a step-parent and so on and so forth. And she's very hard and very cold. And up until they brought the Olivia from the other side over, she never smiled. She just, it was almost like you thought she was incapable of really having feelings or loving somebody.
Yeah, she's pretty uptight. Of course, I'm used to those kind of women, so naturally I found her interesting. Whereas the other Olivia...
You found her interesting because she had big hands, which I pointed out to you.
Actually, they both have big hands, technically. Both Olivias do.
Technically, yes.
Yeah, I didn't notice that she had big hands, and you pointed that out.
You like redheads, so I'm surprised that you root for our Olivia, who is blonde.
Right.
But the faux Olivia on the other side is very stunning as a redhead, so I'm a little surprised that you don't root for her more.
Well, the actress is stunning as a redhead, and she is a lot more bubbly and smiles more readily and is a lot more fun. But there's something about our Olivia that I find very, very endearing. Because she has a story. She had something bad happen to her. For me personally, I've always interested in people with a story, because I have my stories too. And but of course, the other Olivia is beautiful, stunning as a redhead, and not that I would ever pass that up. But it's sort of more of a I don't know, some sort of sentimentality for our Olivia. But I could see the other Olivia making Peter very happy in a number of ways. And we're not giving anything away, but because it's already happened, is that the other Olivia, the redhead, is carrying Peter's baby. So.
Yes.
So.
She is. And the thing about it is, when they first introduced her, I was like, because I do care about our Olivia.
Right.
But I never thought that really her and the actor who plays Peter, who is Joshua Jackson, better known in his role on Dawson's Creek or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't really think that they had chemistry, but when they introduced this Olivia in, the redhead, I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, it was super chemistry. So it's kind of like, and I think that he's still in love with her. And even till now, up until this episode that we just watched, caught up, that he is still in love with the other Olivia, the fake one.
How could he not help but have feelings? And the other thing about the fake Olivia that came over to our side and seduced Peter, pretending to be our Olivia. That's a little bit explanation there of why Peter was fooled. Is Peter would have never gotten together with the real our Olivia if it hadn't have been for the fake Olivia, because the fake Olivia was able to be more open and funny and gregarious, and that gave Peter the in to like, because our Olivia, she's so like stone-faced that you can't flirt with her. You can't really be that way with her. But they were building up to a sexual tension before the alternative universe thing started happening. Yeah, there were hints of it there. And Olivia was stuck on the other side while the fake one came over here, and she went through some terrible, terrible things. And they were gonna kill her and dissect her and all these things because she has the ability to cross between sides, which they're trying to figure out how. And
I thought that our Olivia actually had the best chemistry with the taxi driver that helped her get back on the other side.
That was completely off my radar. He was a very nice man, yeah. But, yeah, I didn't even consider that. But yeah, so, and what got Olivia through, our Olivia, was she kept saying the one thing that kept her going after all those, like, she was practically, going through these terrible, terrible things, was her wanting to be back with Peter, wanting her to make it back and basically show how she feels. So, but let's go ahead and add a couple things, but we don't want to spend the whole time talking about Fringe. But you and I have talked hours about it.
Okay. I know that you don't root for the fake Olivia, but let's not forget, I'll just add, that she did save Peter's life. She could have let him die in that tunnel, right?
Let's see,
and
what tunnel?
The
fake Olivia.
Not because she needed him, but because she loved him.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm granted. I know the fake Olivia, the one from the other universe, does love Peter. Basically, she ruined her relationship because of Peter and she did tell him that when the jig was up and they caught her, is that it started out as a mission, but it wasn't that way anymore.
And here's what I think. This will be the last thing I add about Fringe, and we can go on to something else.
Okay.
They talk about restoring balance to the universes, and Peter was stolen from the other side. So now that the fake Olivia is carrying his baby, and she has the baby, wouldn't that restore the balance?
I don't know. I think it's more than that. I think there were holes torn already by bringing Peter over here. And I don't know, the baby doesn't carry the same mass. There's actually a problem with mass. When you take so many pounds or so many, volume and pounds or whatever mass from our side to their side, it creates an imbalance. Of course, it's all fiction, but they do try to create parameters, a set of rules. But that's a good point.
The DNA and the genetics would restore the balance?
Well, when maybe the baby grows big enough to restore whatever balance was there. It's hard to keep track of everything. Walter, Peter's father on our side, who's actually not really Peter's father because our Walter took Peter from the other side. It's a long story. But that initially created the first rift. But there were other things that sort of happened. There was different chain reactions and different weird things that were happening on their side as well as ours. But apparently their side, it's much worse, which doesn't really make sense to me because if it was an imbalance, it would be happening on both sides equally, I would figure. But that's a good point. I'll have to think about that a little bit more, of what her carrying Peter's baby, what what ramifications that would have. What would be interesting, though, is if he impregnated our Olivia, who is technically from this side, if there would be something strange about a baby that was half from the alternate universe and half from ours.
I thought about that too, but our Olivia seems less reckless. Like, she wouldn't get pregnant.
Oh, see, she'd use birth control. Well, I tell you, it was a little bit odd watching her smile on this last episode. She was so happy. She was smiling a lot of the time. And it just seemed kind of like, and I kept thinking, Peter, don't blow it. You're going to blow it, you know? And he kind of almost did. All right, well, let's move on to something else. I'll let you have one last word about Fringe if you have one.
Oh, no. That's it.
Okay. So you had you got a PM from somebody, and you're telling me about an interesting idea for a future show. Do you want to give it away or talk about it, or have it be a surprise?
You know, I did get an interesting PM, and it was a pretty interesting idea, I would have to say. Hold on, let me pull it up here. The PM was actually from Joe Cool.
Uh-huh.
And the title of it was Chili Cook-Off, so I thought, well, it must be a video, and I'll take a look. But it actually was a PM from him, and he has an idea, and him and Real Man want to have a chili cook-off. But what they're saying, I think, is they want to send me the instructions, and they want me to cook it. They want me to invite tons of people over to try it, to say whose chili is better.
So they want you to they want to make you do all the work.
Well, they did say, and in their defense, I will say, they did say that they would pay for the food and whatnot for me to make it.
Okay.
The thing about it, you know what will be really hard for me is that to do other people's recipes, for me not to modify it, right? And so his whole idea, I'm looking at it, and I immediately want to modify it because I love the idea. I love the idea of a cook-off. Not that it necessarily has to be chili. It could be anything. But the whole thing of let's have a YouTube cook-off, because I know there's so many people out there that really like to cook. Joe Cool, Real Man. Riley said at one point he was going to make some cooking videos. I didn't see him do it.
I'll do macaroni and cheese cook-off.
The box kind?
Yeah. The special ingredient is love.
I add love to all my food, but I don't want to know what your kind of love is.
Oh, no. Here we go with innuendo again.
I just went somewhere disgusting. I'm going to come back now.
I'm sorry. No, I would never do that to my friends or guests or girlfriends or anything like that. It's funny. So yeah, that's an interesting idea. And so another thing is I mentioned El Brookman earlier, and I'll drop his name again. Do you have anything what's this drama about? Are you milking El Brookman for everything he has? Is that the game here? Because you were formerly married, right?
Well, yeah.
Or can we just drop the pretense? Because we try to keep things on Fez Night real. There was something that I sort of was playing around as making up something, and it was a whole drama about how there was a problem with my testicles when I was younger, and I was telling a fib. And the people that actually believed it, you're idiots. Okay, so anyway, no, Angie is not El Brookman's ex-wife, but there's a real funny game that's going on with this, right?
Well, the thing is people don't really know if El Brookman and I were really married.
Oh, am I sorry?
Right?
I shouldn't have said anything about that? Because I didn't want to do fake drama on Fez Night.
And it's okay. People who have been following along know, right?
Yeah, we know it's a gag.
So, it's just whatever. It's a creative idea, and, just you bringing his name up, I mean, we know that he just loves when you say his name.
He's shameless. He's shameless self-promoter and getting other people to promote him. I read a comment somewhere that said, somebody said, stop sending me those PMs trying to get me to watch your videos or something like that.
I swear, if you say his name on YouTube in a video, he will literally have an orgasm in his pants.
Literally, she says.
He doesn't even have to stroke it. It just
flows. Al Brookman. Yeah, you ripped him a good one a few times there as his ex-wife. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, I might have milked him for everything he has. Did you see his new fighting video? So he's going to tell the story of our life and our marriage together, and he's just going to kind of bare all bones out there. So we'll see what happens with that. But I like the fact that he's revealed that Lisa is his other woman, because I wasn't going to be the one to reveal that.
Oh.
But I knew it.
Oh, and so he had. So who came first? Was it Lisa of DeLisa Productions, or Angie? Who was there first?
Well, I guess that's a question for Al Brookman. Who came first?
Oh. I could say something bad, and nothing bad about you, but I could say something, but I won't. Poor Pops.
Well, I can't really compare with Lisa. I mean, she's beautiful. She's stunning. I mean, she's creative. She's talented. She's everything I wish I could be.
Lisa is very talented, and she's very easy on the eyes. But you're quite beautiful yourself. So don't put yourself down on that. And you both have sort of a sexiness, but there's sort of a different. She's coming from a different place. You have your following. You definitely do. And it's a whole different style. It's interesting though how Al Brookman has this fantasy about two blondes, and.
What's really interesting about that is that him, like yourself, has a thing for redheads.
Oh, he's always saying how evil they are.
Oh, but that's because he loves them.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Now, see, for me, it has been a while, so bald-headed women, probably would be fine with me. But yeah, no, I like women of all hair colors. But there's just this thing about a redhead, that just makes me just go a little. There's that little extra, but I almost know that it will come to no good. A redhead to me is like the classic femme fatale. I read a great article once in Esquire magazine. It was called "Sorry, I Ruined Your Life," but she's not sorry. And those kind of women will ruin your life, But so Al Brookman he and I have that in common, huh? Interesting.
He does, and just I have to admit, I'll do a confession from Angie here. I have always wanted to be a redhead.
Oh,
right?
Really?
So you know that my hair is naturally blonde.
Yeah.
And every stinking time I go to the hair shop, which I go to a designer place here, I've shown in my videos, called Hair Benders, or the color designer cut specialist. Every time I ask them, can you dye my hair red? I mean, it would be it would be really hard, because if they just tried to dye my hair red, what would happen is that it would turn pink.
Oh, really?
So what they would have to do, actually, is dye my hair brown first and then turn it red. And so the thing about it is, last year I cut my hair for Locks of Love. I'm growing it again.
Yeah.
At the end of 2011, I'm going to cut my hair again for Locks of Love. And you can't cut your hair for Locks of Love if you have hair dye in it.
Right. They don't want hair dye. They don't want dyed hair. No.
So once I get my hair cut for Locks of Love, I'm going to try to take the plunge and go redhead.
I think
Just
you'd
so
look
you
stunning.
would love me.
It would almost,
Jessica.
what's
Just
that?
so you would love me.
So I'll be hanging around your page a lot more. I bet you would look stunning. It would be like on Fringe, the Olivia, a blonde Olivia versus a red Olivia. Do you remember the actress that was on That 70s Show? The one that
Yes.
played... Okay, so remember she was a redhead all that time on the show, and then for some reason she went blonde. And it's still...
She looks good both ways.
She looks great, but I think she looked better as a redhead to me. But I always wondered, what was she? Was she a redhead and then went blonde, or was she always a blonde? I don't know. And I'm wondering, as far as dyeing hair, is it is it easier to start out as a redhead and then go blonde? Is that easier?
It is.
It is. Really?
Because
Okay.
I've asked them about this. What happened was one time I asked, okay, instead of dyeing my hair red, why don't we see if we can weave in some red extensions, which they could do, but you have to do a certain amount. And so a quarter of the head was like $800.
Wow.
And I wasn't willing to risk it yet. It's like, do I want to spend $800 and risk it not looking right?
Right, but dyeing your hair
that's a huge risk.
Dyeing your hair would be a lot less, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, it's still going to be a couple $100. So it'd be less than, and plus when you weave in hair extensions, it's not real hair.
Right.
You may be able to trick the camera or trick the eye to it looking natural and looking good, but it's a lot of maintenance to actually trick the camera and trick the eye. So it's like $800 and a lot of maintenance.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not going there yet. How about I'll just grow out my blonde hair? And you know what? I am happy with my blonde hair, but I've had it all my life.
You're lovely as a blonde. Maybe just look into a red wig for now.
I actually did look into that.
You could create another persona for YouTube. You could put on a red wig and babble.
What I wanted to do was do the red hair with my color blonde highlights.
Oh, that would be pretty.
It's not easy to achieve. It's actually extremely hard for them to do that, for them to try to, because what they would have to do is they'd have to hold up my hair. No, basically they'd have to dye it brown, dye it red, and then try to do the highlights of my color. You can't get my color with hair dye. It's impossible.
Right.
They told me that.
Well, you do have lovely. I mean, that's one of your features that's very striking is your hair, and so I don't know. I'd hate to see you take such a risk and dye your hair red, but I think it would. Yeah, you know, I have a neighbor who's I have to say, you know, she's a very, very sexy woman. She's older, you know, and she's a redhead, and I've just assumed she was a redhead. She said no. I guess she started dyeing her hair when she was in her 20s. She's somebody that felt she wanted to be a redhead. And I said, could have fooled me. You seem like a redhead, you know, personality-wise and all that. Or maybe it's just an illusion. Maybe it's all up here. You see the red hair and you make all these assumptions. I don't know, you know. But
it's all an illusion.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a bit on an hour-long Fez night, so I better wrap it up. But I want to thank you, and we had the very lovely Angie on tonight, and it was fun. It was really fun. I liked. It made me a little nervous. I started laughing because I think, ooh. I'm still a dweeb. At heart, I'm still a dweeb. It's hard for me to flirt, you know, sometimes. But anyway.
Well, I seen on my video that I made that you said, call me. You wanted me to be a rebound, and that got me really, that got me really excited because, Elle Brookman's calling me a fat ass, but yeah, I still have.
Oh, no.
I know, how fucking rude,
Not
right?
at all.
But
Actually,
I still have some guys that are like cool with me. They don't think I'm. You know what? Freaking Timmy called me a fat ass too.
oh, Timmy's awful. Oh, and all this drama. I talked about Timmy earlier. Timmy's just, he alienates everybody. He's not a nice person. And
Do you know what I told him?
what?
I said I was just following. He made a comment to me on a Kool-Aid Girls video that, oh, I see you've gained some weight, Angie, and I typed back, oh, I was just following suit. You made that look cool. You brought that back. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, no. And in fact, in my history, I've always made a really good rebound guy. I'm the perfect guy that you could come crying to and go, oh, he was terrible to me and all that. I go, there.
So I can cry on your shoulder.
Oh, I'm perfect for that.
You're going to
I'm perfect for that.
rub my back, make me feel good, fix
Oh, yeah.
me a drink,
And I'm a great
and
listener.
fuck me all night long.
And I'll make you feel sexy again. Yeah, I've been really good for that. And honestly, it's been rough for me because I'm a good rebound guy. Because it always sucks. After a while, the woman gets over. I've put the damage together. I've patched things up for her self-esteem, and then she's all like, "Okay, I don't need you," and they move on.
I wouldn't do that.
Oh, thank you, Angie. Well, but there's a reason why I kind of like being the rebound guy too. But this is even getting more interesting. But I'm getting a low battery signal. But we'll have to talk about this more off of Fez Night about about what I could do to help you get over Elle Brookman. Maybe we'll do a video series. Yeah, Elle Brookman, you're missing out. All right, Angie.
Elle Brookman can kiss my fat ass.
No, it's not fat. It's a lovely. You have a lovely derriere. All right, Angie. Okay, well, getting a low battery signal. We better say goodbye before you get cut off.
Okay, bye, darling.
All right, bye. It's lovely Angie on Fez Night. Bye now. All right, that was interesting. All right, everybody. Oh yeah, we just went over a little bit over an hour, but okay. Everybody have a great week, and thank you for watching. Choose your Fez. Cheers.